All right, go ahead and call this meeting in order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
There is a quorum.
All right, next up be invocation led by Darrell Jones from Crossroads Church, followed by Pledge of Allegiance from Alderman Knox.
Father in heaven, we give you thanks for a beautiful day, for our community, and for just another day to use our breath for what you created us for. So we give you thanks for this community, the city that we live in, the structure that we have, and our leaders, our city staff, our elected officials. We just pray, God, your guidance and your wisdom in this meeting tonight as they transact business, not on their own behalf, but on behalf of our community, for the good of each and every individual that lives here. We pray it all in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next up is the approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
No changes, see no proclamations. Move on to citizens' comment. We ask the citizens come forward to the podium and microphone. Please sign in with your name and address for the record. Do I have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Alderman Skinner to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second. Alderman Knox. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Seeing no previous business, move on to new business. We have requests for fireworks permits. First one from the Grand Valley Band Parents Association with Mark Chatburn.
Green Valley Band Parents Association submitted an application. All items that we needed for the application are in good order and all have been received. He is here if you have any questions for him tonight. Otherwise, we're requesting a motion to approve.
Do those separately or together? Separate.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion then on the request for the the Grand Valley Band Parents Association permit?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Arnold approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on the permit for the Band Parents Association? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next one is for the Grand Valley Chamber of Commerce and the Grand Valley Boy Scouts.
This one was also submitted, the application in good order. We have everything for that one as well. Corey is not here tonight, but this one we're also requesting a motion to approve.
Anytime motion to approve.
make a motion we
Knox,
approve
do I
it.
have a second?
Second.
Alderman Skinner. Any discussion on the permit for the Grand Valley Chamber of Commerce? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Seeing no presentations or public hearings, move on to resolutions. First resolution is R 24-26. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement and change order number 1 of All Pro Asphalt and Maintenance LLC for the 2024 payment maintenance program.
Mayor, make a motion that we approve R 24-26.
Motion from Alderman Arnold to approve 24-26. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trozen.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the board, in regards to this program, staff posted legal advertisement as well as notified potential bidders and posted the bid on the city's website. Bids were received on February 1st, 2024. The 8 bids were received, with All Pro Asphalt and Maintenance LLC submitting the lowest and best bid. In addition to the list of roads for the 2024 program, we've also added as a change order the Kirby Road, which would basically be from 40 Highway to almost Walnut Street. Currently, it's a concrete road. We've had a lot of problems in the past trying to keep that repaired. Working with the contractor, they're going to mill the concrete and then overlay it with asphalt. So that should definitely address the issues that we've had in the past regarding complaints. The project was advertised, as I mentioned, the bids were publicly opened on February 1st. As you recall, back in 2020, the city contracted with a company called Infrastructure Maintenance Services to complete a pavement condition assessment and analysis of all the city's streets. The assessment provides us a ranking for each individual road, which will be utilized as a piece of the process to determine a priority of which roads should be repaired. This assessment helps the city staff create a pavement management program which provides the maximum benefit for the available funds. In your packet, we have a couple of charts. The chart with the date of 1/8/6/2020 was when we first started the program back in August of 2020. And it shows what the average pavement condition index is for our arterial streets, our collector streets, and our local streets. The other chart is once the 2024 program is completed, what those average pavement condition indexes would be. And as you can see, over the years, using this analysis, we've seen a considerable improvement in our pavement condition in all three categories. Staff recommends approval.
Okay. I know I've talked to Ken about this. The 400 block of Greystone, I know it was, I think, 2 years out, and I think we looked at bumping it up 1 year, but I know it's in pretty, I drove over there and it's pretty rough shape. I mean, is there a way we can add that one to this year? I mean, we need, I don't know if patching is just gonna cut it for the time being.
Well, funds are pretty tight in regards to this program. This year, I mean, so it would be difficult to add that section because of the costs. That's why we bumped it up to the 2025 program.
Yeah, I
So we
think
would have to identify additional funds in order to add it, I believe.
yeah, I mean, where we are now in the year, it would either involve making a budget adjustment and taking funds out of reserves, or if that was something from an ARPA perspective that you wanted to use some of those funds on, that might be
Would
an
we have to
option, but-
amend this contract to add it though, or can we do that at a later?
Yes.
Because what I would do is I would encourage, especially, I mean, especially it's in Ward 2, for board members if they can get over there that 400 block of Greystone and you see, okay, it's pretty rough. I mean, if that's something that the board wants to look at adding, if you don't feel comfortable adding it until you see it, you might go over there and see it, or if enough of you have seen it, it's pretty rough shape.
Yeah, I'm not sure it can wait. Well, it obviously can wait, but it shouldn't wait, let's put it that way.
Do we have any kind of estimated cost on what that would be, you think, or is that something you come back with?
Yeah, it was around 30, I believe.
What's the total cost of what we're doing right now?
So the total cost of the program we're doing right now is $725,644.
So it'd be like an additional 30,000 to add that 400 block of Greystone.
I think we put a significant amount of money into reserves that would justify, this piece of road would justify bringing that out of reserves to take that, and I'd make a motion to do so.
Was there another section that we can take off?
Yeah, so what I don't want to do is start to get into that, because as Mark mentioned, having that plan put together, that's kind of the bigger picture view, and part of the difficulty of following those is that you might look at a road and it looks like it's crumbled, and you're like, well, why are we not doing that road? Why are we doing this road? And it, not that it sounds good, but sometimes that road is kind of beyond repair, where if you did the maintenance work on the other one, you've saved it and you've extended that time out. So all of those things work together. I think if we want to start adding things, you can add on top, but
so
I would
not
be
taking
leery
off
of
the
taking
adding.
things off. The only thing to the taking it out of reserves right now, Alderman Arnold, is you have to go through a process of a resolution and an ordinance to make that budget adjustment.
Are there
One
ARPA
thing that-
funds? Would ARPA funds be easier?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a funding option for that. One thing that we could do on our end is generally as they start to get into the program itself, you start to identify if their quotes are going to match the actual outcomes. So in some instances, when you go and start milling a road, you might realize that, you know, this road's gonna need a lot more patching than you thought or something like that. So we can, I guess, do this a couple ways. If you want to do it immediately, obviously there are funds that are identified for other city projects in the ARPA side of it. If you want to keep it on the transportation side, we could either come back with a budget amendment at the next meeting, or we could see how this is progressing and see if it looks like we're gonna have room available.
What do we have in ARPA funds?
What do we have around?
Currently, in the budget, we have over $1 million that's unprogrammed because during the budget process, there's some that were identified that were waiting to be allocated on the comprehensive and the parks master plan.
And so one of our plans is to come back as we get towards the mid-year and see how things are going, and needs that are identified in different departments, is bring the board kind of a list of things that we think could be uses for those funds, and get the okay.
Am I mistaken to think that we have to spend that money this year, or?
It has to be obligated by the end
Obligated.
of this year, yes.
As somebody who doesn't drive down Greystone very often, I'd like the opportunity to at least see it before maybe we make a decision tonight.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily anything big to come back and make
Yeah,
that change
And
later
we
on.
have some
It's not-
time. I mean, you know, typically, even though we're approving it in April, they usually won't start the program until around June or so. So we have time, if you want to add it, that we could do a change order and let the contractor know before they're actually mobilized and start milling the streets.
You take action on that motion now?
What's that?
That's why we have a motion though, so we take action on the motion though, right? Unless you-
Yes, I was just saying the
I know.
order of it. Yeah.
Are you still want to make the motion? You want-
If we can't do it tonight, I withdraw my motion, but I still think it's a worthy project to get done this year.
So, I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's this right off of 400 blocks right off Snibar. So drive it's, for some reason, it's rougher than the rest. I don't know what happened there, but if you ever want to get over there and check that out before at least the next meeting. I don't think there's any other roads in that area that are scheduled this year, so my guess is that they could wait to do that one last anyways if they started.
You know, we got
Really?
Crestview over there be getting done,
Okay.
so just a few blocks from it.
If it's that bad, can we borrow your car?
Sure, everyone pay for alignment after. No, I was able to dodge him, but you're dodging. I don't know what. I mean, I don't know why it's got so bad right there. I don't know. It's just kind of strange.
Greystone?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Depending upon pavement condition, it sometimes goes a little quicker, you know, than what the estimate would do. Even though we use the assessment as our guide, we still do drive the streets, and
Yeah.
that's when, you know, driving the streets, we've elevated Greystone to a lead management program since we pretty well had this program set. So you'll see that in the CIP unless you want to elevate it to being done this year.
Yeah, and so staff is working on the next 5-year CIP, and one of the items in there, because we will be at that 5-year mark, would be to have a company like that come back out and do that again. Because although you do put everything in a package, I mean, over time, things happen, so you do have to go back and take another look at it periodically, so we will be looking at that again.
Hey, Mark, to be clear before we vote on this, is the CIP had a plan over 5 years. Have we changed any of the dollar amounts on what we're about to vote? Anything less or more that we put into it for this year?
Well, if you read the study, I think what they originally estimated when we did it in 2020 was that we would need to spend 1 to 1.1 million on our streets. At that time, when we were doing this in 2020, I think we were only spending a little over $250,000 on our streets. So there was a substantial commitment by the mayor and board to increase that amount up to around the 750,000 area. And that's been sustained over the last several years. So that's why, you know, that's helped us a lot.
But this board hasn't taken any money.
Not, we've never been at the $1 million level. It's mainly the 750 to 775. I
Yeah.
believe.
One of the things that is a little bit different on this one is what you're seeing is just the asphalt side of this. So the concrete one that's coming up. One of the things you wanted to do this year in the budget, just to get a clearer picture of what we're really spending, is have, we would do the asphalt side of it, and then the concrete work that was being done was also would come out of those funds. And so it's just completely separate things. You've got the concrete funding, and you know that everything that's in the asphalt is just the true asphalt mill and overlay.
I just wanted to be
So
clear
put
that we
together
weren't
is like-
restricting any money going toward the roads, and it sounds like we're not. I just wanted to be on the same page. Thanks.
Okay. Any additional discussion or questions?
Didn't we approve back in January, or February, Tandem to take over doing this?
That was last year.
That was last year's contract. So
last
you
year.
could see that, received 8 bids. Tandem was one of the bidders, but I believe they were number 3 or 4 on the list.
Okay, that answers that.
Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, Resolution R 24-27. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Quality Custom Concepts Incorporated for the 2024 concrete replacement and paving program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-27.
Okay, and motion by Alderman Bray to approve Resolution R 24-27. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is the concrete side of it. So this would be replacing the damaged curbs and sidewalks and updating the ADA ramps where we are doing the repaving, as well as filling in those sidewalk gaps that we had visited with about when we went through the budget process. So trying to make sure that we have a continuous sidewalk path throughout the city.
Any discussion or questions?
Is sidewalks only or sidewalks and the curbs that are,
Both. This would be selecting that contractor for all the concrete work that we'd be doing.
Mark, did you get crews get a chance to look at that over on Oak that
Yes.
spoke about?
Yeah, so a couple of options. We were gonna look and see, like Ken mentioned, where we're at with the funding in this group of projects. If we have some additional funding, we would replace that curbing. At a minimum, we can fill it in, until we got to the concrete repair replacement. But I'd rather wait to see if we have any available funds left and add it to this year's.
Okay, that way I can get back with her.
Any additional questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next is Resolution R 24-28. Resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to approve the Midwest Public Risk 2024-2025 plan elections and rates for employee health, dental, and vision benefit coverage.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 24-28.
Okay, motion by Alderman Cleaver to accept Resolution R 24-28. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, just kind of a refresher, even though we are on a calendar year budget, our benefits run July to June. So that's why we're going through this right now. And when we do go through the budget process, we only know what the first 6 months are going to be. So we always have to take an estimate or a guess on where we think the second 6 months are going to turn out. So we did budget for an increase, but we got good news this year that it is a 0% increase. So our rates stayed the same as they did last year. The only difference on the health plan isn't anything that we can do anything about, but any of you that are involved in a qualifying high deductible plan, the IRS changed the rules for this upcoming year, and they require a minimum of a $1,600 deductible versus a $1,500, which is still within the amount that we give employees through the health savings account to cover that deductible. But that's the only change on the health side. On the dental side, we are proposing to you, our benefit maximum for a year was $1,250. It used to be $1,000, it went to $1,250. We are wanting you to consider going up to $2,000, and in my opinion, a pretty nominal increase. For all the employees in the city, we'd only be looking at a total increase of $3,600 to up that significantly. That's one of the big concerns that we've heard from employees. When you go to the dentist, you max out your maximum pretty quick if you have to have anything done. So we thought that was a relatively inexpensive way to increase that benefit. But yeah, that is it. Be happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up be ordinances.
This will be the first reading of B 24-06, an ordinance amending the Code of the City of Green Valley, Title II, Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Chapter 215, Offenses, Article 10, and amending Section 215.370, Peace Disturbance, A1A.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 2406 and make a second reading by title only.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Bray to approve Bill B 24-06 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this has come up a few times, and then most recently with the Dollar General that was going in. But we've always had kind of the policy on the permit side that you could work 7 to 6 Monday through Friday. Anything outside those hours you had to get permission for. As we started investigating some more, we realized there wasn't an actual ordinance to correspond with that. So we were kind of tying the hands of law enforcement if they were called out to do something like that. Essentially, we could only attack it from the building side, or if it was a bad enough thing, you could do a stop work order. So it's taking kind of what we've done in practice and putting it into an ordinance. I worked with Chief Turner on that to just put into ordinance what we'd been doing in practice, just to give them a tool if they should need.
Is this aimed just at commercial buildings, like commercial, like a Dollar General? I mean, or what if you're a homeowner and you're wanting to build a shed on a Saturday behind your house?
Yeah, I mean, overall, these are more designed, I think, for the bigger projects. A lot of sheds aren't even like permit required. I think the idea with this and the reason why you can ask for approval to work is depending on where it's being built. It might not matter as much, if it is just a commercial thing that's surrounded by commercial, it's not going to be as big of a deal. But if it's commercial and it's backing up to residential, trying to save that.
And I agree with what we're doing. My only thought, talking to another alderman before the meeting, is maybe adding language about commercial construction, just so if you are, doing some sort of work around your house and maybe it is loud, but it's Saturday, there potentially could be getting arrested or getting a citation for doing work at your house. When I think the spirit of this change is commercial building.
I think commercial building or new construction or actually constructing a residence.
Yeah.
But I do see your point on that. I don't know if that could.
I mean, can you just
Probably a language
specify
change.
new construction? You probably can't, can you?
And so I guess to clarify your question, would you be okay with that side of it too? Like if somebody's, a contractor's out building a new home and they're.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine not working on Saturdays with that. I mean, I can see how that would be a nuisance as well. I'm just trying to think, if I want to put a sidewalk in and the crew shows up to pour some concrete at my house, technically I'm in violation of the law, just doing that simple.
Only if somebody complains.
I'm sorry?
Only if somebody complains.
I mean, technically you're in violation even if
But
nobody
yes,
complains.
yes.
And do we have other noise ordinances that you'd be in violation of anyway? I mean, you can't mow your yard at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I was going to say that probably goes more into the whatever someone deems a disturbance to their peace. That'd be more.
I don't think that reason says you can't, yeah.
Again, not a problem with the ordinance. I just think that maybe we can tighten up the language about the type of construction.
I could see somebody building a deck. They put their own roof on a shed that they're redoing. Neighbors would be upset about the compressors running, nail guns making noise. I've heard that for the last 4 months in my neighborhood with all the hail damaged roofs, and they've been working 7 days a week down there, putting roofs on houses.
Yeah.
The nice part about it is they work like that from, during the day on Saturday. It moves that project along and gets it done faster. So we're shortening the length of time that that you're gonna be exposed to a disturbance. So I think a little more research on this possibly needs to be done, because it puts our police officers in the middle of a disturbance thing that they might not see a problem with what somebody's doing, but by this particular ordinance, they're gonna be bound to give somebody a summons for disturbing the peace.
Yeah, and we do have it on here for 2 reads. We could just go with one, and move it forward to the next and come back with some language, for y'all at the next board meeting that would hopefully address those concerns.
It just add commercial or any commercial building construction.
I was gonna say,
If
can we
you
make a
wanna leave
motion to add
residential out.
language to it?
Would you want to just leave the residential side completely out, or?
But that would be, new construction on homes would still be
I was
allowed.
gonna say, I mean, can we add in, commercial construction and new home construction? I mean, that would kind of cover both, right? Not saying that's how we need it worded, but I mean, that's the two things that we're trying to stop for Saturdays.
Well, I guess my question is, so if you say stop, so what you're saying is nobody could work on Saturday? Or is it just they have to get a permit to work on Saturday?
Right now, they have to get permission, right, from the building official.
So they can
How
still work
this
on
is- How
Saturday?
this is worded.
Well, then
You
this
can work
also
on Saturday, but you have to get permission.
This also prohibits working after 6 o'clock in the evening. A lot of times through the summer, people go home and do summer projects, DIY, build a backyard building. If it's under a certain square footage, I think, Mark, you might have to correct me on this, but if it's under certain square feet, you don't need a building permit.
Correct.
So they could be building a backyard building and on an evening that would, and if they're making noise, somebody calls and complains, this could be hinder them from being able to do it. And that may be the only time they can do it. It's weeknights or Saturdays. So it doesn't lend to be very friendly to our citizens that want to do things
Yeah, and I
themselves.
think as a whole, it wasn't as,
Pertain to those who would have permits.
Right.
So that wouldn't come under it since they're not required to have a
But
permit.
then you're gonna have an law officer that's gonna have to distinguish the difference between that. They don't know that you don't need a building permit for a structure under a certain size. It's new construction, and they don't need a building permit, but they're not gonna know that when they go out to deal with a complaint about the disturbance.
Well,
They're just gonna know that they're supposed to take care of
So
complaints on disturbance.
we had proposed a channel of communication with the police department if we did grant any permission for after-hours work and sharing that information.
Right.
In that regard.
But in my example, you wouldn't even know it's going places. You wouldn't be able to advise them that it's after-hour approved work. So it gets them caught in a catch-22 out there. And I know you can't cover every situation, but it just.
after rereading this, I mean, I think I see the spirit. Like, so if you need a roof on your house, the roofer just needs to pull a permit, and they can still work on Saturday.
Yeah, as long as they get permission.
Okay.
And so let's say new residential construction. If it's in a brand-new residential subdivision and there's homes under construction with not people living within the neighborhood, more than likely, we're gonna grant them
Sure.
permission to continue working on the weekend. This is more geared towards where you have a situation where you have a heavy commercial or residential activity that's occurring that's adjacent to homes that are being occupied late in the evenings or on weekends.
No, that makes sense. I guess I missed the accept approval of the building official
Yes.
portion of it.
Yes,
So
that's in there.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
And they all, everyone contractor or who takes out a permit knows that this is an option.
And there's no extra cost for that?
No,
Just as long as it doesn't hamstring our homeowners being able to do their own work on the evenings or, or weekends.
Well, contractors need to be able to work on Saturday if they need to. So,
I've had a number of the roofing contractors up on the roofs till late into the dark, trying to finish roofs because of weather coming in and so forth. So they may not be aware that they're gonna be up against that situation to get approval to work past 6 o'clock.
well, they will when they get a permit.
Well, I know, but
Because we notify them of the need, if you propose to work after these hours, you need a permit.
right. But they may not realize that as they're working through their day and anticipate it being done earlier. And then, of course, they go longer, but it's too late to call you to get permission because offices are closed or whatever. So,
already in the permit though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's already in the
It's a
permit.
matter of planning, properly planning your day.
I don't see it being an issue.
So to bring that around, were we looking at leaving it as is?
No, now
or-
that
or add-
I was missing the part where
Oh,
you could
okay.
still get approval to work on Saturday. I
Yeah.
thought it was a complete outlaw.
No.
Saturday. No, I'm good with it.
Okay, I missed that too.
Any additional discussions or questions? All right, this will be the first read then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay, I still think it's a little bit ambiguous. It could cause problems with some of our citizens trying to do DIY projects. And I'd like to make a motion to postpone the second vote. I don't see a need for this being an emergency pass for 2 reads in one night. I think it would give all of us an opportunity to talk to constituents to make sure whether we're on the same page with them or not. I may not be on the right page with my constituents. I'd like to talk with some of them and see what their feelings are. And
So I have
so,
a motion, Alderman Alderman, into, it's called a postpone, right? Is that what we decided? It's called postpone, right? Is that what was decided, I think? Okay, I have a motion, Alderman Alderman, into postpone the second reading of Bill B 24-06 to the next meeting. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
A second, from Alderman Knox. Any discussion then on the motion to postpone Bill 24-06?
I just think doing it all in one night might be misread by the public out there as to how and what we're controlling here.
I just think there is a major need because we do have a new commercial building going in right next to a bunch of homeowners who I'm in contact with regularly. And I think that's what spurred this. So I think, potentially waiting another couple weeks is just causing more harm to those residents who back up to this property. And that's why I would be in support of doing the second reading tonight and passing it so we can make sure that those homeowners are not damaged anymore with working late.
Do we
Yeah,
know
so
how the
the-
hours of that, have we been keeping track of the hours over there on that new construction, or they? I know they're getting up, got still up pretty fast, I don't
Yeah.
know.
They're gonna be finished before too long. They'll have
They're
it boxed in
moving right
2
along.
weeks and everything will be
Yeah, so
inside.
our idea with the doing the 2 reads was just the weather's getting nicer and we're getting even heavier into building season, so that was the idea of trying to get it in here.
I agree.
Have you been getting any complaints since that started going up about the hours?
Yeah, I've had some complaints, and with the hours as well, but that was like right there at the very beginning when they had all the crews that just randomly showed up on a Saturday and started going. I think since then people have just kind of got used to it, but I think having the tools like this on the weekends when Mark's team is not here, but our police officers are here, and there's nothing worse than showing up to a call when there is a law violation and not having the power to do anything about it. So, if it's in their building permit, and it says they have to work within these hours, and the police department shows up to enforce it, but there's nothing in the law to back up them saying you can't do this, well, then we're just setting our police officers up for failure. So, I think that if the building permits already say that, then we should have it as an ordinance. We give our police officers the ability to enforce what they're showing up to handle.
And I would also like to see that we maybe direct that more toward commercial, like we were talking earlier, that we give a little leeway that is based toward new commercial construction and not the DIY people at home. And the additional time would give us an opportunity to make that adjustment in this, so it clarifies it that it's for new construction and new home construction as opposed to someone doing a project at their home on a weekend or evening.
If somebody was doing a construction at their house, they have an add-on, and they go to pull a building permit for that, they could ask to do work on Saturday, right?
It's already part of the permit, yeah. Just need
Well, you
permission.
would think that, but these are people that don't deal with that on a regular basis, and, you would just trying to avoid.
That's not an excuse, right?
No,
I can tell you when we built my building, that was never presented. We asked for a building permit after we jumped through all the hoops and wanted to move the building forward and backwards and sideways, and finally went back to the original. The permit was issued. There was nothing said about if you wanted to work on a Saturday, or after hours, they actually finished my building wearing little lights on their head the night before Thanksgiving. I was unaware of it. So I kinda agree with Dale. I think we need to, rather than doing a second read tonight, I think we need to put some little more language in it, and also it gives people out there that are watching from home and everything to weigh in if they wish on what their thoughts are.
So Rick, that really wouldn't have anything to do with the ordinance though, right? Wouldn't that have more to do with like Mark's team when handing out a permit explaining that there is an option to work on Saturday?
It probably would, but I'd like to see it cleaned up in the language.
Right, any other discussions or comments on the motion to postpone? Okay. All in favor of the motion to postpone, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
Okay.
So I have Arnold and Knox as nay, or as aye to postpone, right?
So 2-4.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay. Okay. All right, so now we'll go back to
Second read.
motion for the second read.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to figure out where I was at. I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 2406 and approve it as ordinance number 2447.
Okay. I have a motion by Alderman Bray to accept the second reading of Bill B 24-06, make an ordinance 2447. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
I still reiterate that this is going to put the people in a situation, somebody's building a backyard building under the requirements for a code permit, maintenance repair to a deck, other projects similar to that, repairing a fence, might get them in violation of this particular ordinance, and they wouldn't know anything about it because particular items or functions that they're doing didn't require a permit that would even let them know that they have restrictions.
So, just to clarify more, on permits, fences would be a permit, right? So we would let them know on a fence. Decks,
Only if they're 30 inches or higher requires a permit.
okay. And then
Maintenance.
buildings if they're above a certain size.
Correct.
So if the deck or the building does not require a permit, they don't fall under the Saturday work thing, right?
But they don't have a permit.
And
So they can work on a Saturday without any kind of permission, this is no permit.
Correct.
if you're doing maintenance, replacing a section of your fence, you don't need a requirement of a permit, do
You
you?
don't need a permit to.
And if you're doing repair or replacing a portion of your deck, you don't need a permit. So those situations are gonna put someone in a situation that they could have a complaint
So we're
on.
gonna need to give our police officers a field handbook that explains all the situations in which they don't have a permit. I don't know, I mean, how
And
we-
that's the reason for the
yeah,
language, it puts it more toward the commercial stuff. And if they get past a certain point where it's residential, they'll be getting a permit and they'll get the information that's stated here.
I mean,
I just wanna make sure we're not,
yeah.
I mean,
If
you
you-
get that
how
many
we're gonna
million complaints
keep
around?
But I mean, one side of it, so it would take someone complaining.
Yeah.
And that's no different than a general disturbing the peace. So if you're doing something that's that
So
disruptive
it's
to
gonna
your
be like
neighbors,
it's gonna be like multiple Saturdays, is what you're saying,
well, I mean,
or
it's-
just like 1 AM or something.
it's you doing something that's obviously negatively affecting a neighbor to the point that they feel as though their peace is being disturbed.
So if I'm throwing a pool party and we're being loud at 9 o'clock at night, my neighbor calls, he's gonna show up anyway and write me a ticket. It's the same ticket. We're debating an ordinance that already exists, trying to change the wording of this one.
Well, I think this one's new just because it's based around working, not like noise or something. Right? I mean, now our officers have to understand like what do you pull a permit for and what do you not pull a permit for. I mean, I don't know what all is required to pull a permit. But I think the responsibility still falls on the homeowner to know, hey, don't put a fence up, you have to pull a permit. Like that's on you to know
You can't
that.
legislate good neighbors, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Any other discussion or questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
This one's roll call.
Okay, that's right. Roll call?
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Arnold,
No.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Nay.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
4-2.
Okay. That's it for ordinances. Next up, city attorney's reports.
The only thing I have today for you guys is to remind you guys of our upcoming city officials training, which you guys get to go to for free because you're a member of NPR already. You guys usually go to the Independence one, which is April 26th coming up. So that's the only thing I have.
All right, thank you. Next up, city administrator and staff reports.
Mr. Davies.
Mayor and board, so our all-inclusive playground at Armstrong Park is open. Pretty much everything's done with the project other than some signage that we still need to put up. We are having a grand opening ribbon cutting on Saturday, April 20th, right there at the park at 10 a.m. on that Saturday. So everyone's welcome to come and attend that. That'll be our official opening. But we were able to get pretty much everything done Thursday. We took down the construction fencing then, and we've actually had quite a bit of activity on the playground the last 4 or 5 days with the weather. It's nice. So it's nice to see that and see everybody out Saturday morning on April 20th.
No other comments.
All right. Next up then, Board of Aldermen reports and comments. Alderman Arnold.
Congratulations to all of the aldermen and mayor for their re-elections, and appreciate all the people that supported me through my efforts. So congratulations and good work to you in the future.
All right, Alderman Mills.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Alderman Bray.
I'd echo Dale's comment on congratulations to everybody at one of the races. Mr. Soul, congratulations, and I look forward to working with you. Congratulations to Shannon in the Parks Department. I know that's been a long effort to get that park in. I went over and walked it today before the meeting, and it's fantastic. I'm proud of the board over there. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of the city for getting that park built.
All right, Alderman Skinner.
Yeah, just one question. Mark, on the Buckner Tarsney Duncan intersection, can you just get a quick update on like where we're at on that? I know we sent it out for engineering. I don't know if we've got anything back on that yet or.
Yeah, so we did. We got the initial cost estimates back on it, which was it close to double what we had initially thought when we looked in the CIP. So I know our city engineer has looked at some funding opportunities for that, but we are continuing to look at some funding opportunities, knowing it's probably going to be multifaceted, partially being a cost share, and then looking through some avenues with Mark and other Mid-America Regional Council, not Mark, but other areas to get that done. So the idea would be that we'd have something back to you to kind of, and part of that will be with the CIP as well as being a project in there, but just to kind of get your guys' thoughts or guidance on how you want to move forward with that. Because I believe we originally estimated a little over 2.
Yeah, 2.4, 2.5 million, and came in the engineer's estimate from CMT, our on-call engineering, a little over $5 million.
What was did they say, like, what was the grading? Was that have something to do with it?
Just the cost of the improvement, either going with the roundabout and adding the additional lanes, or going with the additional lanes and the signalization.
Okay,
Just unfortunately, very expensive.
sure. Is MoDOT still willing to help split costs on this?
Well, that's what we were kind of exploring, was possibly apply for a federal grant. They're called Surface Transportation Funds through Mid-America Regional Council. And then if we were successful in getting funding for that, then go to MoDOT for a 50-50 share. There's nothing that excludes us from going to MoDOT with a 50-50 share. It's just identifying our 50%.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Okay. And I guess our options for that 50% are a bond, or, I mean, it could come down to something like that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for unsuccessful grants, then yeah,
Right.
that's a possibility.
Okay. Thanks.
What's leading the way, the roundabout or the turn lane?
Was there a huge cost difference between the two?
Not a huge cost between the two. The, naturally, we would have a sustainable cost in maintaining the streetlight into the future. So that's an additional cost, but not in regards to the new construction.
If they do a roundabout, will they have to buy a couple of those houses?
I don't believe that
What?
they would have to buy, probably the
What?
residents on the northwest corner possibly could be in the right of way, but that would possibly be the only structure that would be impacted.
Because it was
Not
actually, wasn't it a little bit less land on the roundabout than the turn lanes?
That's correct.
Really?
It didn't go back as far from the center of the intersection if you're doing a
You
roundabout.
gotta add turn lanes on every corner, so. So I think that's why it came in a little bit cheaper, was because it was less land acquisition.
The roundabout?
Yeah.
I would have thought the roundabout would have taken more.
You think, yeah, you think.
Obviously for our ward, I mean, that's a huge deal, right? I get everybody's doing everything they can. I guess we'll see how the next year goes with it, and then I'll probably be asking to explore the bond issue. I mean, we gotta get it done. It's a very dangerous intersection. I don't know if it helps, but I mean, it's like the fire department, I mean, they, all their
They've written
support.
letters in
Yeah.
support.
As well as
We
the
also
school
got
district,
letters from the
yeah.
school district in support of improvements. We shared that with both MoDOT as well as include those letters of support in the application process to Mid-America Regional Council.
what you're saying, Mark, is I need to start getting loud about this. All right, I can do that. That's all I got, thanks.
Alderman Knox?
Excuse me. Yeah, I spoke to Ken and Mark both last week about this, just seeing where we're kind of standing. I'm getting beat up about people not being able to use the sidewalks that go through driveways. Broke up real bad.
Yep, so Mark and his staff did look at the property maintenance code, and there is something you can fall back on that, similar to a parking lot that's in disrepair, to prompt those changes. So I believe that we are in that process at this point, just being last week, but.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because I know she'll be calling me again tomorrow. That's all I have.
All right. Alderman Cleaver?
Nothing tonight.
Mayor's report, I don't have anything additional to add this evening. I do not believe we have a need for an executive session, correct? All right, if no one has anything else then, we will adjourn.